at rotten chicken. So last week, was it last week you did that story?
I think it started 2 weeks ago.
Is it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
right. So there was a story
yeah.
about rotten chicken being, or chicken that was imported to Ghana, and they realized that the FDA realized that part of it was rotten. By the way, it was cleared under very mysterious circumstances. It's not originally part of what we're going to talk about, but since he is here, Larry is here, his story, his paper did that story. I'm going to find out if there's been an update. The last time I brought in an FDA executive here to find out what's going to happen.
About the same story?
Yes.
And you didn't talk to me?
We couldn't, we actually called you. We called you, but we couldn't get through to you. You are 027.
I have a 027.
Yes, we called, and they kept telling me, the network kept telling me that the number is does not exist.
That's strange.
Yes, yes, you could find out from everywhere. But we did that because it was necessary for us to talk to you and have your word, because you have that story, yeah. And then to find out whether we can juxtapose it with what the FDA.
So she's talking to you now. Let's go.
FDA was.
You don't have much time.
Well,
so
true. What the FDA was saying, they said that they were still investigating, and that a part of the first container, the one they allowed to be cleared, a part of the chicken, was rotten. So they took it out, they spoiled it, like they destroyed it, and then they allowed them to take the rest. And what's the update, by the way?
Okay, the update is that they claim they are still investigating. First of all, I think the FDA is misleading people.
Why do you say so?
Good. The FDA, those are the head office, are being informed or being misled by their officers at the port that it was only 2 containers which were involved.
Oh, so there's more?
There were 3 containers involved.
I see.
They moved 2 out, and all 2 had rotten chicken in them. There was a third one. I'm coming. There was a third one which was also rotten, which also had the rotten chicken. But that one, they claimed they couldn't open it inside the pot. So they decided that they were going to pick it up on Monday and then try to open it up. By Monday, when they got there, the owners of the container had smuggled it out of the place, yeah, and taken it all the way to Techiman. That is what they told the FDA guys. Now, the FDA guys in Techiman started looking for the container, and they couldn't find it. Then they got word that, the container had actually been at the premises of White Stones in Tema. You get it? Now, by the time they got there, that one also had been opened. So they couldn't, identify the sports one from it, because it had been opened, and then whatever they would do had been done to it. The first 2, which each container contains 2,800 pieces.
She mentioned that here
as well.
Okay,
exactly.
That's a lot.
So 2 of them, do the math. Two of that, equals to 5,600 boxes of chicken. At the time, this FDA official, Solomon Agampim, was saying that they had met, he together with the veterinary officer, to inspect the chicken and remove the spoiled ones from the, those ones which were not spoiled. Do you know what time it was? It was 5:30 p.m. That is what he said. 5:30 p.m. What can you do with, 5,600 pieces of chicken in a container? And mind you, they were using their nose and then their eyes.
That's what she said. And I asked her, she said there's a what's it called? They have a way of doing it. And I think she also said that they had gadgets, that they use for it, and it wasn't just, their
that is what he will tell you.
Nose.
That is what he will tell you, that what they had,
right.
They had that.
So
but the interesting thing, when we got this information, and when speaking to these same port officials, they sealed their mouths completely. They didn't want to say a word until we had to use other means. When we started telling them that the container came on this day, it came, this is the country of origin, this is who and who was involved, these are the officers who did this, this is what the customs guys had said about it. Then they got the guy, before he opened up, I need to give you the sound. I mean, when we spoke with him, the interview,
right,
he was completely, you know,
it was all over the place.
All over the place. He didn't know what he was saying.
Okay.
He was fumbling all through and
I
so
see.
on and so
I
forth.
see. So it's not originally a part of this discussion, but I believe it's a story that you're still following.
Sure,
So
yeah.
going on, what are we to, I mean, what are we to expect, or what are your own expectations about what to get out of this story? Because as we speak, it appears the chicken is already on the market.
Yeah, it's already there. It's already there because you see, what should have happened was this: FDA, you know, behaved strangely. Really, this is an institution that the least of, you know, thing, they issue a statement warning everybody that, listen, be careful.
But with this, they've been
but
silent.
I don't know, they've been silent. I mean, it's surprising.
That's because
the lack of consistency in this, in their behavior and so on. At times, they've tried arguing and, you know, even shielding some officers as if nobody did anything. SEPS issued a statement, sorry, in their database, a copy of which we have, was that they have noticed some spoilage on this, and that a laboratory investigation should be done.
The FDA says they're doing that. The last time she was in my studio, that's what she said.
At what time?
Okay, so let me bring Kobe in so we can quickly move on to the other stories that we have. Like I said, that's the story that the FDA keeps saying that they're investigating.
I wanted to say that what enters your, you know, your stomach, I mean, can decide your fate,
your existence as well, right?
It can't be removed and then, you know, thrown away or something. You are either going to live perpetually with an illness, or you're going to die out of it. So, you know, FDA has to be consistent in all that it does. Okay. As far as food safety, as far as drug safety is concerned. When was the last time you heard FDA, you know, doing this surveillance and all that?
And it'll be interesting to answer that question, especially since Christmas is approaching, and when it does, we understand that a lot of, you know, foods are imported, etc. Kobe, let me take your quick comments on this, then we can move on and look at I guess we can start with the vigilantism.
The first thing that came to mind is the lip service that our state officials are paying to security matters in this country. We are always told that we are on top of security, we are on top of security. Rotten chicken from the port traveled out of the port, right?
They said it's not chemical. It's not like there's a chemical contamination. It's not chemical, and that it's no, what's the word again? Basically, because they have traveled for a long time, you know, and then it got here, it didn't get the right temperature. That's what I was looking for. The right temperature. That is what caused the.
This is FDA defending.
Yes, right here in the seat you're seated on.
Isn't that strange? The owners of the consignment are not speaking to it. It's FDA that is speaking. We
invited them to explain to us whether or not we are safe as Ghanaians.
Gifty, you are a typical Ghanaian African woman. You have a beautiful fridge in deep freezer in your kitchen. When there is doom so and you don't have adequate power and your food goes bad, is it because it's chemical contamination?
No, it's not.
Do you eat it?
No.
Yes. So the thing is gone bad. As to whether it is enough refrigeration or inadequate refrigeration, it doesn't really matter. The thing is gone bad.
So the explanation she gave then was that the first 4 rows, so they opened the container, they found out that the first 4 rows, and I was curious to find out, how do you know that beyond the first 4 rows, there are other contaminated boxes in the container? She said they did the due diligence, you know, like basically they tried and then they make sure that just the first 4 rows.
They did the manual sampling.
I guess. And then they took some to the lab as well.
Nasal sampling.
Then they took some to the lab.
Manual nasal sampling.
Yes.
Wow, Ghana.
Even the ones that they took to even the ones that they took to the lab, I asked, how do you take and choose?
It means that
a whole container.
Look, let's demand more of officialdom.
Right.
Let's demand more of officialdom. The weekend that he broke the story, I think on a Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, on a Monday.
Yeah. That weekend, I was driving around the Wato area, the General Post Office, and there was this heavy truck ahead of me heading towards the Idimpo. I don't know if you know Idimpo.
Adimpo, yeah, I've heard the name, but I don't think
Palladium.
I'll be able to make my way.
Palladium.
Okay, there.
Yeah.
All right.
Heading towards Palladium, and the stench that was coming from the vehicle was so offensive, but well, I had no reason to believe that it was rotten chicken until I saw the story. I said, could it have been what I was following? So immediately I asked my guys to do a few checks around to find out if they can track the vehicle. Unfortunately, my guys couldn't track where that vehicle, but I'm sure that if the state agencies are really, really minded to go on the ground to track where these things have gotten, they will find them.
Okay.
They will find them. And seriously speaking, it is becoming one too many. Just recently, we saw that heavy truck of a can fish that you understand. Yeah. Also, again, in this instance, we must be thankful that they at least managed to nip it in the bud.
And then they destroyed it.
And destroy it. Yeah. So I think that we must stop paying lip service to security. And I'm not talking security in terms of curbing armed robbery and arresting defilers and rapists alone. Okay. I'm talking about all these add up to the instance of insecurity that the Ghanaian people are confronted with right now. So that our authorities need to be up and doing. The security situation in the country is getting porous by the day. And
talking about security, with this story, we'll be following up on this as the days progress. But talking about security, let's start our conversation, of course, with what I'm calling the militarization of so-called politically affiliated groups. Now, let me give you a breakdown of what has happened just this week alone. Sisala DCE. He fled, we are told, because he fled from the irate NPP youth there. Karaga, NPP supporters attacked the police station, and they chased out the DCE and the Youth Employment Agency officials. Karaga, again, NPP chair, 4 others were arrested over the police station raid later on. The youth then threatened to attack school feeding coordinators in the north. There's this group calling itself the Burma Camp Youth. That's a pro-NPP group justifying the lockup of school feeding officers. And we heard some of the children saying that we come to school and there's nothing for us to eat. That's because this group calling itself the Burma Camp Youth have locked up the school feeding program. And we understand that about 4 auxiliary organizations have decided to withdraw. They actually withdrew a long time ago. We have been trying to get them back. I mean, when I say we, I mean we as a country have been trying to talk to them, including the World Food Program, to talk to them to get back on the program to support. And they are very reluctant, very hesitant to, listen to us because of these sort of things. We also understand that the police managed to avert a clash between NPP supporters and some NPP supporters who allegedly have been trying to seize public toilets. It's been a trend, really. It's been a trend, and apparently this will be about the 19th or 20th incident of since the presidency of President Akufo-Addo. Certainly, there's something going on here that is wrong. Let me start with you, Kobe. What are your thoughts?
Well, when you have the first gentleman of the youth front of the NPP, Sami Awuku, promised the youth that, look, as soon as we win power, whatever position you are desirous of being appointed to, don't wait for any appointment. Move straight and go and take position.
I didn't hear him say that.
Oh, I will send you the voice.
I appreciate it.
I will send you the voice. Go and take position. Then what you have is that you have a certain militant posturing already, how do you call it, imbibed in the youth. That when you want something, you must go and take it. It doesn't matter who is opposing you, because your party is now in power and you are. And then when you have the leader of the party, who is now the president, who also glorifies these attacks.
How do you mean he glorifies attacks?
I'm coming. When he says, okay,
but he hasn't said that now, has he?
you don't understand. It doesn't take one summer, is that one swallow to make a summer? Is that how they say it? So that is the thing. It's a collection of things over the years, and it has built up that. And then you see the Delta forces happen. The Delta force happen. You have people like Kennedy Japan coming out to say, if you touch them, you will see what we will do to you in this country. I will personally lead the Delta force to attack the police, and nothing happens.
Who is to blame for that in itself? Who is to blame? Because at the time they had lost, for the MPP, for example, had lost the confidence that they felt they should have had in the police system. So they refer to these people as people who supported them.
I'm talking about since you came to power and appointed an IGP and did the shake-up at the police headquarters, and now if you have lost confidence in the very police, and we have set up a whole national security machinery, if you have, then you might as well have lost confidence in the government.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So
you understand? If this were, it was to be happening during the another government's regime, then you say, oh, okay, maybe they are using the police politically against us. That's why we have lost confidence. But I'm talking about, this is your own government.
Yeah, I was saying that to refer to, you know, back then.
Before I'm talking about now.
Yes, so hold on. So before they won power, they had lost confidence in the police, and so they refer to these boys as people who helped them.
You see,
during the
unfortunately,
elections,
before then, even the time that you claim that they say they lost confidence in the police, they were not misbehaving this way.
Okay. So
you understand?
Right.
Now that you are in charge of the whole national security apparatus, and this is the time that, for me, you know, my greatest fear right now. My greatest fear is that Professor Mills tried very, very hard. It didn't mean that some of these things didn't happen under Professor Mills. They did. But he tried very hard with the Father for All approach to calm
these youth.
And if Akufo-Addo, on assumption of power, had continued with that,
but he made that clear in his speech, didn't he?
You see,
that I'm going to be a
you know, you are hearing them say Munjai, they are pushing them. Go and
you think that's what's happening?
That is exactly.
What evidence do you have to that effect?
Delta 13.
That they were convicted.
Apparently, the guy said that they were told about the money. And so when he was going to the court, he was carrying the money in his pocket.
They were giving a slap at the back of the hand.
Okay.
You understand?
What for you? Before I go to like what for you? What should we do, or can we do about this situation?
What for me should happen is that the president and his government must show true commitment to fighting this menace that is rearing its head.
And
in
by
the name
showing
of
true commitment, what should we see them do?
By not only arresting the perpetrators, but charging them with the appropriate offenses. Not go and give them misdemeanor charges that will ensure that they are given
bail.
Even if no, as for bail is right. But they are giving, a slap at the back of the hand and say, okay, you have been convicted. Of course, if you go to court and you have been convicted for a day, it's a conviction, isn't it? But it only means that you sit in the court. When the court closes, you have
and it's not commensurate to the sort of
you understand?
offense that
and so
you committed.
When people see these things happening, Delta Force, are Delta Forces more MPP than some of us? So if you can protect,
will do something.
If you can protect Delta Force, you can protect us as well.
Okay.
So, and going forward, unless there is a strong indication by conviction and custodial sentence, then you will see more of it. And is there any wonder Karaga happened? What's the name of that one? Is it
Karaga Sisala? And we understand also somewhere in Mungwa.
And I hear the voter region too. The boys are getting ready. You understand? And these things are all coming up because people believe that they have the right to take the law.
Spoils of war.
Take the law into.
What can the media do, for example? I mean, I'm basically looking at solutions here, because
The solution does not lie in the minds of the media.
No,
Trust
I mean,
me.
but
we can highlight the issue.
Okay, so
if the government continues to prefer wrong charges against the suspect, and which in fact ties the hands of the court will not come and change the charge and say, look, based on the facts, go and change the charge to this way. The court will then become a party to the litigation. So the charge you bring is what you pronounce on. And based on the charge you bring, it says, oh, okay, you are fine, 100 Ghana cedis, pay and go home. So what is it the fault of the court? No, it's not. It is the fault of the executive. So the executive must prefer the right charges and make sure that the people are convicted. And once they are convicted, even if you want to, how do you call it, pardon them, you let them stay in custody for some time.
You do like
sentence. Let them serve part of the sentence, which will in itself sends a message, a clear message to the rest that yes, maybe how do you call it? Nobody will be very lenient with us with all these things. You understand?
Okay.
That is how you show the commitment to fighting this vigilantism.
Okay.
Otherwise, look, I won't be surprised if by Wednesday we hear another report.
Hopefully we will hear another report.
I won't be surprised.
Hopefully we
I
won't
pray
hear
we
another
don't.
report.
I honestly, sincerely pray we don't.
We don't.
But I
Okay.
won't be surprised.
Okay, Larry, let me bring you in on this. What are your thoughts?
Have you ever had a relative of yours arrested, and then you had to raise against time to bail the person because the police will tell you that it's a weekend?
Yes.
And they don't work on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, no, fortunately, no, I haven't.
Okay, but there are reports like that. I mean, that is a common knowledge. So you had this.
It happens typically in the rural settings.
Okay, so then you had this Karaga people, the MPP chairman, the secretary.
Yes, who were arrested.
Who were arrested.
And
over the weekend, Saturday, they were quickly granted bail.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these are the same guys who were being called to Tamale, the regional.
I mean, the police had been looking for them. Apparently.
And then they've been running away.
So someone like, I don't know, you've been in the police service. When you get someone that you've been looking for.
You allow me to
no. I mean, please, I just want him to, help with that because he's been there. Whether or not when you get people that you've been looking for, but when you arrest them, is it an offense? Because that's the point he's making. To give them bail, especially on a Saturday?
No, it's not.
Okay.
In fact, under some circumstances, especially where your manpower, how do you call it? Your manpower is not enough for you to keep them in custody and transport them to the regional headquarters where they are wanted. You can release them on bail to somebody who will make sure that they report on the day that they are wanted at where they are wanted.
Okay. It's okay. Let me finish with this.
The underlining principle in granting bail is to make sure that the person will not interfere in the course of the investigation. And once that But
these are people who were on the run, and the police had to chase them apparently to arrest them. So when you arrest them, do you let them go?
Yeah, but you can still grant them bail.
It's allowed.
You can still grant them.
So they said they could arrest them in Karaga, and then they lured them from Karaga to Tamale.
Yeah.
And then the people sense that, there's a trap here. So we had to run away back to Karaga so that, they couldn't arrest us. Then the police pursued them and got them a village very close to Karaga. Shortly after that, they granted them bail. And they've gone back to Karaga. The next day when you call them to come and they refuse to come, what happens to you?
Well, you restrict the bond on the surety. That is... And
that is all things being equal.
Yeah, that is why you make sure that whoever is going to bail them is somebody who can produce them when you want them.
Okay, like you have your own suspicions, apparently.
Of course, we all do have our suspicions.
We all do have our suspicions. That it won't go far.
You can share your suspicions.
No, that it won't go far.
What is it?
It won't go far.
Yeah, but what is it?
It will end where it is.
Okay, that's your suspicion.
It's going to end where it is because it's going to end where it is because is it a DSO or something?
Adesso.
Yeah. They had just, beaten up assemblymen and the presiding, member and so on. Then, before then, the court, the storming of the court. In the case of the Muntie 3, they only sat on radio and threw their weight about. entry.
Non-existent.
No, exactly. They didn't have, you know.
You call that non-existent.
And I'm telling you, these are.
But when you sit on radio, you don't assume that everybody that listens
compare
to you
that to somebody who storms court
I
and
can
threatens
appreciate
a
that.
judge. The judge had to flee like a cat out of her seat. Then the
Goes
whole
to the police station to go and
exactly
release people
contempt
from
of court and other things. That is even a criminal case in itself. Before any other thing, charges preferred against them,
For you,
including
is there
destruction of
an
property.
end in sight? Is there an end in sight?
There is not going to be an end.
Piling up. We seem to be piling up these. There's one NPP support.
My paper, let me tell you,
group.
Herald used to report on the attacks at the NPP headquarters by the invisible forces. That the NPP headquarters, how many minutes drive from the Nima police station? Cases upon cases, reports upon reports, complaints upon complaints were lodged over there. The Nima police never moved in there once to arrest anybody.
Why?
You, a multimedia journalist, were beaten in the presence of Nana Addo's house. It took Nana Akomia and then Oboshi Sai Kofi, who wrote a letter. In
front of Nana Addo's house?
Yes, during the 2012 election.
Elections.
Exactly.
It was not at his house, because we've just done a story about that recently. It's part of the Media Foundation for West Africa's awards program. It was at Circle, Obrasport, around Obrasport. That's
some of your colleagues, I'm coming. Some of your colleagues I reported that. Okay. I can show you the paper. Some of your colleagues, apart from you, Metro TV, TV3, Joy FM, and many others. I think I should have that.
What for you should we do?
So the violence started building up not today. People had been empowered. They felt so, so above the law. You get what I'm saying? They feel above the law. Another thing that is coming up, these are guys who had been promised jobs. Like Kobe said, somebody had instructed them that just take position when your party wins. So there's spoils of war to grab. You understand? There's spoils of war to grab.
Okay.
And so then they kept doing it to understand that in Tema, during a public gathering, some macho men came and said that we have been calling you, people don't pick our lines. You had used us to do this, to do that, to do that, to do that. And next time when we call you and you don't pick again, you see what we are going to do in Tema. Okay. And they were allowed to go scot-free.
Let's look at the solutions quickly so that we can.
You think I have the solution?
You know? I mean, your suggestions. What do you think? I mean, you sit back and look at the situation.
Apply the law the way it has to be applied. Simplicity.
Okay.
Well, the interesting thing is that Nana Addo doesn't punish. Have it on record. He doesn't punish.
He doesn't punish?
No, he doesn't.
How do you mean?
He doesn't. He doesn't, because if he were to be a punisher, do you get it? They wouldn't be doing what is happening. So Nana Addo has instructed several times, we've heard him, saying that, listen, deal with them. In Parliament, he said he had given instructions. And
when he does it the next day, the day he did it, something else happened the next day.
Is it because they know that, listen, Nana was just blowing hot air?
I see. Okay. Since you've spoken about that, let's tie that in with the chieftaincy dispute in...
I thought we were going to GPS.
We would do. Why are you so interested in GPS?
It's so juicy. We have to.
We will. We will. But let's tie that in. Let's tie this into the NDC, the Kwesi report and the chieftaincy dispute. Because we're talking about vigilantism, etc., and how the laws should work and all of that. That's why I'm bringing in the chieftaincy dispute. Now, I'm not particularly enthused about going so deep into the chieftaincy issues. I mean, this is an issue that we've had to deal with for many years. So there's a new chief. We understand Ni Teko True. There's another. Ni Adama Lache there, and then just I think last week there was. I mean, my colleague went
Lache
to.
means fireman.
Yeah, Lache. Yeah, it sounds like owner of fire or something like that. So no, but then now they are accusing. There's another. The Adama Lache faction is accusing the regional minister and Adri Blankson of infiltrating. In these matters, etc. I'm in a state of hopelessness, really.
Oh, why?
And yeah, because I don't see how this problem is going. I will show you that video from I think this will be Bukum. Show you that video from Bukum this week. It was just terrible. It was just terrible. There was a press conference, and then we understand that one of the factions
insecurity in the country. I mean, let's admit it. That's insecurity.
Let's look at the Ga chieftaincy issue. And you've been following that story as well, have you been?
Yeah, I started following Ga matters long ago, not just this particular one. I started following it long ago. And you know what? every now and then, you hear the names of politicians being mentioned. This is not the first time that I've heard a regional minister's name being mentioned. Because under President Kufuor, when Dr. Joe Blankson became the government chair, okay, I heard, you know, the name of Sheikh Isi Kwe, who was then the Greater Accra regional minister. Okay,
so these are the visuals, just so you know what happened there. There were bottles, you know, there were gunshots, you know, there were
Jamestown.
Glasses. Yes, this should be Bukum Derba. So there was a press conference by one of the factions, and then all of a sudden, people from the NITEC, which should be the people from the. So this is my I won't say my favorite part, but this is the most intriguing part where. And if you should hear, maybe we should just hear them a bit and hear.
It took the timely intervention of the police to bring the situation under control. 4 leaders in the area were whisked away by the police. Superintendent Kwesi Fori has been explaining why.
And we've managed to end the street fight. We're now engaging them to see the need to promote peace in this very community. And we've also successfully escorted one of the leaders out here, you know, to his home. So you can see that the tension has minimized. But the police will be here to stabilize the situation and make sure that security situation in this community improves. Well, for now, there is a need to go into it. But it has something to do with traditional matters. But we will not tell that story. We will leave it for them to tell their story. As law enforcement officers, it's our duty to deal with security-related issues, for which we are doing now.
I see some 3 men were whisked away. Who are these men and why have they been arrested?
Oh, they've not been arrested. They are leaders, you know, in this drama. So for their own safety, we have to take them out. We've escorted them out here.
Okay, all right. So what is the police going to be stationed here?
Yes, already we have a stationary force. But this conflict overwhelmed them. That's why we're invited in. We will assist the stationary force here to make sure that we stabilize security situation in the community.
There was uneasy calm at Gamashi as at the time JoyNews was leaving the area. For JoyNews, Matilda Promaga, Gamashi, Accra.
She didn't quite put in the fact that she ran away. She had to run away. That was very serious there. You've seen it for yourself. This happened this week. Okay. And now it seems there are 3 factions here. Teko True, the newly installed chief, and then there is the Adamalache, who was installed some time back, and then there's those from the Abola Piamwe, now, you know, saying that it is their turn to be chief. Maybe let me start with you, Larry.
I think that I was saying that I've been following issues about the Gun State for a very long time. So, and this is not the first time, and I'm not sure this is going to be the last time. Now, from Nungwa, Teshi, you know, maybe La is okay, and then I think Tema is also okay to a large extent and other things. But you know, most parts of the Gun State is always, you know, is embroidered.
Yeah, and I don't get it.
Yes. Maybe the process of selection, something ought to be done about it. How that is going to be changed now is going to be a problem. But when you compare what's happening, what happens in the Gun State to what happens in the Ashanti region. Ashanti region, you had a woman who would appoint, as in the Queen Mother, you know, selecting this person. The person is presented to the elders accept him, and then they, you know, perform whatever rites they need to do, and then eventually submit him to the Otumfo, who recognizes him, and from there he's gazetted, and then, you know, the process, from what I've narrated, appears quite dutiful and simple or something. But in the case of, you know, Gamashi and so on, then everybody, today is my turn, the next day is the other person's turn, the following day this and so on. And along the line, history gets lost, particularly when we are not documenting a lot of things. But we've come of age where we should be able to document it. That, okay, today it is Kobe's turn to be.
But for what's happening, that's not never happened.
Today is Kobe's turn to be. The next day to be my turn, or another time it's going to be Kwesi's turn. Maybe we should just get back to that. We should be able to. We've come of age where we can, properly straighten up this whole thing. And then, but for apart from that, you have the courts, okay, or the police first of all. The police have.
But they were there.
They become like something that you can easily rent to go and do whatever you have to do.
No, but they were there to maintain law and order.
Listen, tomorrow morning, let another, clan or another house, storehouse. Kobe, I want to see gifting that. Tomorrow you get another storehouse saying that it is their turn to, to install their guy. And you have the same police people going to ensure that this process comes
yeah, but that's
very
the police.
well.
The
so
police
where are we going with this?
The police,
the
they can't take sides.
The regional House of Chiefs, have to step in. The National House of Chiefs also have to step in so that this whole thing will be properly, straightened up.
Okay.
I mean, the insecurity is just the tension and whatever it is becoming way too much.
Well, let's finish this quickly so we can do the digital address system to end our conversation today. Kobe, what are your thoughts?
Well, as someone with Ga ancestry, I feel pained by the things that are happening. And my pain knows no bounds when I consider the fact that these are very, very highly lettered individuals involved in these matters. They are all highly educated people. If it were the, excuse me to say, unlettered people who are struggling, then one will say that maybe
it's out of
ignorance. But these are people who, and some of them, their background is such that they have been involved in very, very, difficult negotiations elsewhere during their professional lives. Right. You understand?
So they've been able to solve problems, but they can't seem to bring solutions to their own problems.
How these three factions cannot sit themselves down and negotiate a certain process that would enable Gamashi to have peace and tranquility for development. I really don't see why not. Yes, politicians will take advantage of any situation that will give them a political advantage.
In fact, the Adam Alache, people have accused them of doing so.
Politicians will take advantage of every situation that will give them, but must you allow yourself to become pawns of a political party or political interest? No. You understand? Because if you come together, if all three factions go and see themselves in a room and say, look, all this, we are only spilling our own blood. The one who got hurt is my cousin. The other one is my uncle. The other one is my niece. Let's come together and see. Okay, so what are the difficulties? Let's note them. What are the suggestions from here? Which ones can we work on? Even most difficult negotiations involving Iraq, and people are negotiating them. You understand? So why can't we
just understand each other?
Small Gamashi, where if I'm not going to be cited for contempt of chief, I would say even all the lands are almost even finished. What is left is the title. Why can't we just sit down in a room and negotiate ourselves and give ourselves a process that will, nobody else can do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves.
I agree.
And so I'm calling on all those people who are claiming the right to the title that, yes, claim it by all means, but come together and
have a plan or have a strategy.
And work things out.
I mean, power sharing happens.
No, you don't even have to do power sharing. You just have to agree on
something.
Okay, fine.
Roadmap.
So the roadmap. Okay, so this is it. Let's agree. You understand that?
Yeah.
But There are difficult situations everywhere, but then there is no matter that war has been able to resolve. In the end, we will have to come to negotiating table.
Okay.
In the end, we will have to, after shedding all the blood and maiming all ourselves and our brothers and sisters, we will still have to come to the negotiating table. Right. So my plea to my Ghana brothers and sisters is that let's stop this then we come together, go into the room. We are all lettered, fortunately. All of them are highly educated. Some of them have even lived outside the shores of this country and gained marvelous experiences. Let's bring those things to bear on this situation and show that we can, that this is why we are called Gamashi.
Right. Gamashi, and it is established, but apparently at the moment, well, we don't know. But you see, I think the bottom line is that for me, I fear that there's a sense of hopelessness being built within among the Ghana people. Every now and then, you know, there's a new chief here, tomorrow there's a new chief there. Like, and I think Kobe puts it right, you know, quite bluntly when he says that if you continue to allow the politicians to infiltrate your ranks and to use you whilst you kill your brothers and your sisters, at the end of the day, you know, politicians, Kobe knows how they work. They use you and they dump you, basically. So that's something that we want to look at. Let's quickly look at the digital address system. Unfortunately, my phone is on low battery, so I won't be able to, you know, demonstrate. But we all know. Do you have your address?
I have a Google map.
You have your Google map.
Yes.
Okay. So basically with this, the few facts that we need to know is that we're looking at a system that we're told will be costing $2.5 million, according to the Vice President. Apparently Ghana will be paying about $400,000 every year for this address system, you know, to function properly.
Where did you get that information from?
Well, that's part of the information that my producer has given me.
You have the video of the Vice President.
The Vice President, yeah, I mean, I heard him.
It.
I heard him say
Can
that.
you play?
Which one are you referring to? 2.5 million?
Yes, when he mentioned
yes,
that.
this was at Cape Coast, University of Cape Coast.
You want to play
I don't have that here at the moment. I think we may have to look through the system for a while.
Oh, I can send it to you if you want.
I think I have it.
Okay, so what's the issue with that, to the 2.5 million?
The 2.5 million.
I think we have it. So let's see. Let's see. I think we found it somewhere. Let's see.
And you will be happy to hear Ghana's digital address system with unique postcodes for every location within Ghana. For the longest time, you know, if you are looking for somebody's house, the cocoa seller on the right, the blue kiosk on the left, you know, by the gutter, before you get there. And then the day that cocoa seller doesn't appear, you are in trouble. So we have said that we want to implement. Ghana is huge, you know, by many standards, it's huge. There's so many villages, towns, and so on. We want to use the existing technology to implement a digital addressing system. So this is the task we set ourselves when we came into government. And that task has thankfully been accomplished. The digital addressing system is going to provide, for me, if I look at it and I'm biased, of course, it's going to provide us the most advanced addressing system in the world, period. This is what we are about to roll out. And it is more advanced, of course, than the United States or United Kingdom or Sweden or Germany, because they are stuck with old technology. We are leapfrogging, and we are going to new technology. We are going to GPS-based technology. So even if you are standing in the middle of the river Oti and you want your address, when we roll it out, you will know your address in the middle of the river Oti. It is unbelievable. We have been able to put together 16.1 billion addresses. Every 5 by 5 meter square part of Ghana has a unique address.
Okay, so that is Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia there at the University of Cape Coast some time ago, talking about the digital address system. I remember very well because I heard him say how much it was going to cost. But that soundbite, unfortunately, doesn't include the amount. But I'm not sure why you keep referring me to the amount. Kobe, is there an issue with the 2.5 million, or is it the $400,000 that's supposed to be paid yearly to?
Yes, the 400,000. I'll come to the whole thing. No, I have an issue with the whole thing.
Oh, so?
The whole thing. Okay, so now let's start with the 400,000 because that's what you started with.
To Google.
Do you?
Okay, so all right.
The Minister for Communications Minister Ursula also told us that we are going to be paying $400,000 every year to Google, right?
Right.
Now you have what a name, Judge Anda, also telling us that
it's not true.
It's not true. We won't be paying 400,000 to Google after 2017.
I haven't seen that story. Could you, if I could just look at the first paragraph? Government does not. Okay, so this is him talking to City FM.
Yes.
Government does not intend to make any more license payments to Google beyond 2017 for embedding the company's online mapping in the country's newly designed national digital property addressing system. It goes on and on and on. Okay, so but that is his boss speaking. So his boss has spoken. Why don't we go by what his boss is? Maybe there's a bit of a contradiction there. We need to understand.
The boss said it earlier, and he is saying it later. So which one are we to take?
So why don't we try and understand?
No,
I think we won't get it now. But it would be good for us to hear from the minister and understand the contradiction that's going on.
Gifty, let's take our time.
Okay.
The minister spoke earlier. The deputy minister, who we have been told was in charge of the negotiation, who was in the nitty-gritty of the negotiation of the 2.5 million contract for the GPS, is telling us otherwise. And you say we should wait for the minister for clarification.
I'm saying that we need to understand what's going on.
It's the confusion that is happening in government.
Okay, it doesn't tell me, so we need to understand. I mean, I would want to understand what is causing this contradiction. Because it says that,
but there is
so hold on, it says government does not intend to make any more license payments to Google beyond 2017. So perhaps the agreement has been made, they understand. So, and I'm saying perhaps, so that's what I'm saying, we need to understand what is happening and what is causing this contradiction. Is it a contradiction at all?
I am saying that the minister makes the point that we are paying $400,000 annually.
What the deputy is saying is that we don't intend to, and I haven't heard him. This is a story that I'm reading.
You doubt CTFM?
No, I don't. What I'm saying is that I haven't heard him. But this is what, because if you listen, if you listen to somebody, then they can give you information that puts whatever it is they've said in proper context. So I'm saying that perhaps what he's saying is that we won't pay beyond 2017.
I mean, I'm falling in love with Gifty.
Oh, you haven't already?
No, I'm
you are now beginning to fall in love. You are late. Someone else has fallen in love.
Yes, I'm beginning to fall.
But you see, the point I'm trying to make here is that we don't have the minister and the deputy here. What you're saying is that
must they be here before we analyze what they have said?
But you see, the confusion that you're saying that this portrays.
Hold on.
So if you say this portrays confusion there, we don't. But if you say this raises confusion, how does it affect the digital address system? And is it a good thing at all? Do you think? Is it a good thing?
Jack Warren.
When having addresses for our houses and everything is a good thing. Nobody can talk about. But this is not what is called digital addressing system.
What are your expectations?
What we have right now is just the normal Google thing that you have. For instance, if I stand here right now and I enter that system, it will give me a unique address. It gives me an address that talks about where I am right now. That does not talk about my address, my home. And that is what I understand the vice president to be saying to us that they are doing for us.
So we understand that what has been given to the Ghana Post is a customized system for Ghana, which is why it's been licensed to Ghana Post.
You don't understand.
That's the explanation.
What we are told we will be given, which forms the basis for the president saying that if you don't have a GPS address, you will not get your national identification card, is that once you enter the system, you enter it and it gives you your house number where you are. You key in and you get your house number, and that house number becomes your house number. Wherever you go, that address becomes your house number. That is what you use for any transaction. What we have right now is a system that gives you a unique, if you enter that system right now, and you
maybe Kobe can start looking for
and you start you are
have you tried it already?
You are at Joy FM.
I'm yet to.
Okay.
I am at Joy FM, and I enter and I register Joy FM as my house address. How accurate is that information?
Okay.
How can a bank use that information? How can that address be superior to the address in the United States or Germany or Sweden?
Right.
You understand? This is total. Some people have described it as fraud, but I would say it's total waste of money.
So the information I'm getting right now,
already I was getting from Google.
The information I'm getting right now is that the app requires that you register your house, your address, your house address once, and so you cannot register Joy FM and go to maybe your girlfriend at Labadi and go and register Labadi.
So I'm saying that Joy FM is not my address.
Yes, but if you put Joy FM there as your address, then it will reflect. So you can't register anymore.
Very good. So then how reliable is that information?
Then it will come back to hurt you.
How?
Yes, because
I am a fraudster. I don't want I'm a fraudster. I don't want my address to be known, to be tracked. And I want to dupe the bank. I don't want the bank to track me. And you say it will hurt me.
Okay. So we understand also that when you're going to register for the national ID, then with this address, the address with which you identify yourself is going to then be confirmed when you get to the national. But hold on, okay.
I am not an IT expert.
No, it's okay. It's okay, but these are feedback.
I am just a user of Google Maps.
But this is feedback that will be good for them.
I'm saying that
this is feedback that
they are interested in
and to make no, I think I was going to say the headmistress, the communications minister.
This is something that I have gotten from Google long before I heard of Ghana Post. Jack, where are you?
Customized system
as a CGPS.
And I'm saying that even at the
Google doesn't register your home address.
Oh, Masa,
we understand it doesn't register your home address. If I come right now, if I put in the coordinates, Google will give me a unique address as to where I am. But that will not be
based on the longitude and latitude.
Yes. But that will not be your house address.
You don't understand. What they are giving me right now is not my house address either.
Okay.
You don't get it.
So let's stay on the positive. Let's stay on the positive side.
Listen, to be able to give me my house address, you must have mapped out the whole of the housing.
Which they say has been done. They say that has been done. You don't believe that?
No, I don't.
Okay. So your greatest fear. Highlight for me again your greatest fears.
We have thrown money away. We have thrown 2.5 million away and gone for something that we could have got without. We are already getting free from on Google. That is my not fear. That is what I see happening.
Okay.
You understand? We have thrown $2.5 million away just to go and use a Google system that is already there. And that is why the deputy minister is at pains to let us know that even the 400,000 that they say, because it is clear that this is something that we can get for free from Google.
Okay, so value for money, that's one of your concerns. And then the other is...
I have listened to several experts who have made the case that, well, I'm told that some of the things are being corrected.
Yes, I mean, every app, I have a friend who is, I mean, she's into apps and app development. She says that every app always goes through an upgrade because there are always feedback coming, and they take that and then they upgrade it. So they take that you upgrade it. So
app, including the SNIT app, they all have to go to.
But when you face accusations of copying,
I haven't even brought you in here. So Larry,
I'm already there.
Oh, I know you're already there. I know you're already there.
I'm already there.
But you see, I think we should look. I think hold on. I think that if we believe that this is a good system.
Sure.
And you have said that already, that this is a good system. Then we should be able to begin to put, fix our focus on getting it to work properly
it's
for all
a
of
good
us.
system.
What are your suggestions?
You see, I think that instead of wasting...
Addressing is a good thing.
Okay, please, let him finish,
But
because he
this
hasn't
system
spoken.
is not addressing that problem.
Fair enough.
Thank you. To start from there, you see, I mean, we could have gotten NCA, National Communication Authority, to do this job. Maybe at no cost at all to us.
Really?
Yes, I think so. Because they have the technology, they have the expertise. They could sit in their offices and switch off your radio station.
But they can't code. I understand the NCA
They
can't
code. I mean, if a private company with how many people? If a private company with how many
You mean
people?
they don't have the expertise to employ somebody who
They
can
don't
code?
have the expertise to employ anybody and manage the system. And $2.5 million is going down
but
the
it's,
drain. Let me tell you, there's something about even the whole contract in the first place.
Ghanaian businesses
Of
as well.
Of course.
So what's wrong with that?
I'm saying that.
If you are giving us a product you are looking for.
Exactly.
So what do you want? That's what I'm saying.
What I want
your
an address
suggestion is
system.
that,
I want an address system that actually meets the requirements of the international standard that Dr.
What
Baumia
is the
talked about.
international standard? But
I'm
he
able
said it, and they say that this is what
the bank. Listen.
So hold on, no. These are people. At least they said something. They said this is what we are presenting to you. You said no. This is not what we want. What do you want?
Maza, go into Google right now.
I
want to give you an example. Go into Google Maps right now.
I have low battery. I can't do
Oh,
that.
sorry.
Larry,
We'll
can you help?
We'll spare you our phones.
Go key in number 3 East End Drive, Croydon, right? And see if it will not zoom into the exact house for you. You understand? That is what we are talking about, digital address system, which Dr. Baumia was telling us that ours was going to be more modern and leapfrog what the UK and US
the explanation he gives is that the UK and the US are being using this for...
Right now, key in number 2 Aku Lane, man, produce and pay, and see if we take you to my house.
Maybe my producers can do that. My production
key in
can do
number
that.
2 Aku Lane,
My
man,
phone
produce
isn't
and
working
pay,
at the moment,
and
so I'll
see
be able
if
to
it
do
will
that.
take you to my house. That is the point. That is
Larry,
what we are talking about.
Let's finish with
That is why we have
Gifty.
wasted money.
Gifty, do you believe that NCA could have done this job easily?
I mean, I won't doubt our ability to be able to do anything at all. But I don't know their capacity.
You see the confusion which you are refusing to look at between what the minister is saying, what the minister is saying, and what his deputy is saying. You need to note that.
Okay.
Because they are in the same office.
So important.
It's important because then somebody is telling us that, listen, we are going to be paying Google $400,000 every month. Every year. The minister. But then the deputy comes to say that, listen, we are trying to ensure that we won't pay that beyond 2017.
Yes.
What is the confusion between them? What is the communication between them such that they are presented as this confusion?
What I can appreciate, on that basis is that we're going to have to pay 2017. But beyond 2017, we're putting in
Have you appreciated the fact that the minister wasn't alone when she was talking? And that beside her was the Ghana Post.
Oh, the
Ghana Post boss as well.
Yeah, okay.
Do you understand? Who also disclosed that 3.5 million Ghana cedis was spent on publicity alone?
And Joy FM got some of the...
You got some of the money?
The publicity.
Because I noticed that they are on your website as well.
Oh, no, but we're a business.
Everybody.
We're a business, so if you come in, we give you our rates. No.
The Herald is here to get that. Maybe we are not business.
I mean, you can bid for it if you bring us a business.
You are in business.
Certainly, why not?
You see, let me give you a
That's how I get paid.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so that's different. I think that's different. If you are... No, I mean, if you're arguing that they are not, they've not given you value for money, I think that it's only fair to highlight.
I'm going to tell you. That's why I'm driving at. That's why I'm driving at. Listen, there's a joy.
I'm talking to you.
There is a Daily Graphic online report dated 6th October 2017, and in there, Afari, what's the gentleman's name? The owner of Vodacom, Osei Afari, was talking about how he got called on September 14th. Okay, September 14th to come for he was served with notice to come for the contract to be signed.
Okay.
That they had won the bid. Now, then on the 22nd, the contract was signed between government and this Vocacom.
Yeah.
By October 6th, when he was talking to Daily Graphic, he says they had finished putting finishing touches to the app. Note the time. 14th, notice. 22nd, contract signed. 6th October, finishing touches were being put to the contract, to the $2.5 million contract. Value for money. The man goes on and talks about how he met the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, and met also with cabinet. Obviously, Esla Owusu, the minister, is part of the cabinet at the time, and that he explained to them whatever it was that was going to, whatever this
so the
whole app. Listen,
here.
not the time.
Yeah, I have.
You note the time.
Yeah.
So now you ask yourself, how many
After
people?
you got the contract, you're now putting finishing touches to the app.
Exactly. No, but it's listen.
I mean, that's
people?
one of the
Yes. How
concerns
many
you're raising.
people took part in the tender? First of all, what did they present to the committee that evaluated the thing? You understand? How many people, value the thing and came to the conclusion that this is the best option available? Okay. Did they check what was the expertise on the ground? And mind you, you hear political whisperings all over the place. Now listen, this gentleman is very close to government.
Whoa,
And so, meaning that this whole arrangement about the 14th notice, September 14th notice, that
it was all possible because the guy is politically affiliated.
everything looked cooked.
No, but that's not. It looks cooked.
Everything looked cooked on paper.
Did you hear Kena Japan talk about how contracts
certain contracts went
bidding, but then they call people and say we contract with
if there is any evidence, he should put it out there for us.
Kena Japan, you
yes,
see.
Ken has
So,
spoken, but
and you know the interesting thing. You know there's an interesting thing.
We need to wrap up.
No,
So
you wrap up. I'm going.
So make that your wrapping
You see,
comments.
then you have two
Let him
launches.
finish.
You have two launches. One, Vice President Bawumia, who had talked about this whole thing and how good it is and, meeting international standard, better off than US, UK, and other things. Doing a pilot launch on the World Postal Day. Then the president also now comes in and does the official launch of the same thing, okay? And then you had now the confusion has come. And so then you have the minister saying that, listen, we are paying this amount of money. The deputy says we are not paying that amount.
You want this program to be halted? You want it to be halted?
Which program?
in your thought, the digital address
Let's do
system.
the thing in a proper manner. This whole thing looks cooked.
It
looks fishy, and looks amateurish as
So I think that to be your final word on that.
Well, you want me to conclude? So.
Yeah, because we ran out of time, unfortunately. Kobe, do you have any final words on that?
It is just a scam. We bring our money back and get this matter investigated. In fact, this is one of the matters that the Office of the Special Prosecutor will be seized with.
Jack has chopped the money.
We will be petitioning.
So we need to go look for Jack.
We will be petitioning
the Parliament?
No.
Oh, the Office of the Prosecutor.
Yes,
That's if Parliament,
And Google is supposed. We are supposed to sign a contract with Google, and Parliament is supposed to approve of that international transaction.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
What is it? This is Mamprobi Sempe. And so if I go in right now, I can show you my house right now. And this is Google.
This is Google.
This is Google.
But Google cannot show you everywhere in Ghana. That's what they're saying they have done. That's what they're saying, that they have customized it for Ghana.
How can you be relying on Google as the backup and say that you are better than Google?
Okay, so
it doesn't make sense.
We have to wrap up.
Google is the primary driver.
Okay, I'm not the Minister of Communication. Don't beat me now.
You are not beating.
All right, it has been a very interesting conversation, but we're still asking for justice for kids, both boys and girls who are being defiled anywhere. We won't tolerate that at all, and we expect the state agencies to act. My name is Gifty Andropi. I've been here with Kobe Fiagbe. editor of the Ghanaian Lens newspaper, former police officer, is former detective, right? And Larry Dogbe, editor of the Herald newspaper, the man who did that story about the rotten chicken. It's getting to Christmas. Make sure you're not eating any rotten chicken. I'll keep my own advice. But of course, I've been supported by, you know, my great two cameramen standing right before me. Fruits on camera, Essie on camera, as David Odro directing, you know, all affairs. I'm sure there's somebody else that I'm forgetting, but don't worry. There's still justice. It's still a part of the show. In less than 30 minutes, we bring you Joy News Prime. Please stay with us.